The date was December 7th, 1941, a Sunday. The sky over Oahu was a piece of blue silk, soft and unbroken. The early sunlight spilled down the Ka'olao Mountains and touched the still waters of Pearl Harbor. The battleships sat in neat rows, gray, silent, their reflections so perfect you could almost believe the world was at peace. I was aboard the USS Arizona. My name for that chapter of my long life was Chief Petty Officer Michael Stone. I wore the khaki uniform of the U.S. Navy, my white cap pulled low, a small name tag on my chest that read Stone. But that was never my real name. My true name is Takoya. I was born a boy of the Cahokia people in the year 526. I drank from a hidden spring, and death turned away from me. Now, on that Sunday morning, I had walked this earth for 1,415 years. I stood on the deck of the Arizona, breathing in the salt air. Young sailors scrubbed the deck, laughed, and talked about home. One played a few chords on a beat-up guitar. The world felt so gentle that morning, so full of hope. But I knew better. My soul has smelled war across centuries. I have seen the greed of conquistadors, the agony of Gettysburg, the frozen trenches of France. I know this truth. When the morning is too peaceful, the storm is already on its way. And so I watched the sky. At 7:02 a.m. on Oahu's northern shore, two soldiers at a small radar station saw something strange, a swarm of blips rushing south. They called their commander. "It's probably the B-17s from California," the officer said. "Don't worry about it." The phone was hung up. And on the deck of the Arizona, I lifted my head. In the far blue, tiny black specks were growing larger. At 7:55 a.m., paradise shattered. Japanese Zero fighters dove out of the sunrise, the red circles on their wings like bloody suns. The first torpedo struck the USS Oklahoma with a muffled roar, and a fountain of fire leapt from the water. I ran. Around me, the world became chaos. Bombs fell. Bullets strafed the steel deck. Sailors screamed. Some ran. Others stood frozen, eyes wide. I shouted orders, pushing men toward safety. "Get to port side. Grab life jackets." My voice, was it mine, or the voice of a tired soul that had seen too many wars? Then came the moment. A single armor-piercing bomb dropped from high above, plunged near the Arizona's forward magazine. For one heartbeat, everything stopped. I saw an orange light bloom, so bright it seemed to swallow the sun. In that light, I saw my entire life. The mounds of Cahokia, the silver spring, the tears of the Trail of Tears, the madness of the gold fields. Then, the explosion. It was not a sound. It was a silence that roared. The USS Arizona split in two. I was thrown through the air, a rag doll of flesh and scorched cloth, hurtling over a sea of fire. If I were mortal, that would have been the end. But I cannot die. I have never been allowed to die. I hit the water and sank. Dark, oil-choked water closed over me. Debris floated past. My left arm was torn by shrapnel, blood coiling into the sea. But as I watched, the wound began to close. The skin sealed. The blood stopped. The curse of immortality or the blessing, I still do not know. I kicked upward, breaking through the burning oil on the surface. I gasped and opened my eyes to a nightmare. Battleship Row was a wall of fire. The Arizona still blazed. and inside her 1,177 men were entombed. I could hear them, or maybe that was just the fire, just the wind, just my own heart. I swam, not to save myself. I swam to a young sailor blinded by the burning oil and pulled him onto a floating plank. Then another, his leg shattered. Then another. I hauled them from the flames again and again, my immortal body refusing to tire. And I thought, if my endless life has any meaning, it is this: to stand at the gates of death again and again and pull others back. By noon it was over. 2,403 souls gone. The sky was black with smoke. Ships still burned on the water. I knelt on the oily shore, my uniform in tatters, my face smeared with ash and blood. Tears cut white tracks through the soot. Around me, sirens, crying, the groans of the wounded. But all I could hear was the silence of the dead. Why me? Why do I survive, always? Why was I born in 526? Why did I survive today? And why will I live to see tomorrow?
The next day, December 8, I stood among a crowd of sailors in a dim barracks. A radio crackled. President Roosevelt's voice filled the room. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Men clenched their fists, wiped their eyes. I stood still, my ancient eyes holding 1,000 years of war. I knew this attack would plunge America into a new chapter of fire and steel. I knew I would be there too, on the beaches of Normandy, in the cold of Korea, in the jungles of Vietnam. New names, new uniforms, same eyes. But I also knew this: every December 7th, I return to Oahu. Now I go by another name, Riverwolf. I wear civilian clothes, and I stand on the white memorial above the sunken Arizona. Below, the ship still rests. 1,177 men still sleep inside, their bodies gone, their souls eternal.
I place a lei on the water, and I whisper, I will never forget you. Because I live, your story will never die. My name is Michael Stone. I have been Takoya, Samuel Blackhorn, Juan, Thomas Gray, and so many more. For 1,500 years I have carried the glory and the grief of this land, and I will keep carrying them until the last star burns out. Pearl Harbor left a scar on my immortal heart, a scar seared by fire that never fades, only glows.